Okay, we are started, but I call this the pre-party. So we're gonna get started like for realsies in about 3 or 4 minutes. Um, but when you come to like a physical event, I don't know about you, but when I come to a physical event, I like to like get there a little early and find my chair and like, make sure I can see. So if you're just joining us now, welcome. You're like me, you like to be a little bit early. And so you're coming in. Hello, Logan Bright. Thank you for hosting the event. You're welcome, Logan, for hosting the event. It is our pleasure. I think about RRSP season, maybe less so now, but kind of like Santa thinks of Christmas. It's kind of like a celebration. So I'm Bruce Sellery. I'm going to be hosting the event for those of you who are joining. Alexandra Rodriguez is here as well. She is with Credit Canada, and she is one of our education facilitator leads. So she does webinars and programs all the time. And Alexandra, you did not spend your youth thinking about RRSPs like I did because you came from a different country. When did you first learn
Yes.
about RRSPs?
Uh, when I first came to Canada and started working for RBC, like in
Hey,
2011.
right. Well, it's funny because I moved to the US, and they have a whole different framework for it. So I don't know how it works in your home country, but it's just a reminder. It's like Canada's got a very particular way of doing
Hmm.
retirement savings that is not universal. Uh, Joan Black, yes, you are supposed to be hearing us. Yes, you are. So Alexandra or Becky, if oh great, and we've got Logan being helpful to say click your audio. So if you're just joining now, we are welcoming you into the room, and we're going to get started in a minute or two as people find their places. Uh, we have people from New Brunswick, people from Calgary, I bet from lots of other places. So if you just go into the chat, if you could, London, Ontario, my hometown. Joan, I don't know where in London
Oh,
you're
mine
from.
too.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's right. Alexander's from London too. Alexandra was hired, I can't remember how many years ago, but Alexandra and I met for like the fastest coffee in the world because I was in London for 5 minutes to see my mom. So that's when we met. Sauble Beach, Ontario. Excellent. Edmonton. Kathy, I hope it's not too cold in Edmonton right now. It's been cold in lots of different parts of St. John, Brunswick. Love it. Canada has all the feels and all the weather. Calgary, Ottawa, love it. Nation's capital, Saskatchewan, Barrie. So many people from so many different places. Welcome to all of you. I love that you're using the chat so effectively. As we go along, Alexandra will explain this in just a second. We'll be referencing the chat at certain points. So please feel free to add in questions and all that stuff. We're going to get started in about a minute. Hello, Laura Hill from Ottawa. Welcome from Ottawa. I was in Collingwood on the weekend. Is there any? We've got some Barrie people. Anyone near Collingwood? Anyone in the Collingwood area? I have not been on skis in 7 years, and I'm going skiing later in the winter. And Alexandra, I thought I better try, like to see if it's like riding a bike and I could still go on
Hmm.
skis, or if it's not like riding a bike and I'm gonna die. And I did not die. So I was very grateful for that. Okay, John's joining us from North York. It's 7:01 and 30 seconds. 7:01 and 30 seconds. Let me see a couple of more places and then we'll get started. Where else? I want to from Vancouver Island. Jan, where on Vancouver Island specifically? And you're going to test my geography here because 1,000 years ago I used to lead a tour. It's called the Grand Western Circle, and we went from Calgary to Calgary, but Calgary, Banff, Penticton, Vancouver, Victoria, Port Hardy, Prince Rupert, Prince George, Jasper, Lake Louise, Calgary. So I've been through lots of places on Vancouver Island, but I don't know if I'll know where you are. Maybe Courtney, maybe.
Parksville.
Where's that?
Parksville.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I know what that is. And there's someone from Courtney. Okay. There was this a little restaurant in Comox called like the Little House on the Hill. Does that ring a bell to the Comox person? Hello, Raj. Good evening. Welcome. I don't know. Anyway, it's such a beautiful, I mean, Canada's so great. Canada's so great. We are going to get started right now in our webinar called Rockin' Your Retirement Savings, RRSPs, TFSAs, and Smart Strategies When Money is Tight. There is a lot of content and a lot of people talking about RRSPs and TFSAs and all that stuff. But I think at Credit Canada, what we really focus on is people for whom money's not fallen from the sky, where money really is tight. And sometimes there's some debt and there's like other things. So our conversation really is going to focus on people for whom that's their life. There's just not like money everywhere. And it's not easy to save the 22% or whatever in your RSP every year. And you've got really challenging circumstances sometimes. So we're going to talk about retirement savings. It is going to be practical. It is going to be encouraging. It is going to be actionable. And I would probably say it's going to be a little fun. Just a little, like a bite-sized bit of fun, like a tiny little bit of fun, not like a huge amount of fun, but a little bit of fun. We promised you a number of things in the invitation. So first was clarity on the containers. And what I mean by that is people talk about the RRSP and the TFSA and all these acronyms, and it's not necessarily clear what they are and which one is right for you. So we want you to finish tonight being super clear on those containers. Second is we really want to dig into this debt versus save question and help you think through which you should be focused on based on your circumstances and all those things. We're also going to look at actionable habits and helping you develop a plan that is going to work for you over time, that is relevant to you, even when you have the feeling like I cannot squeeze blood from a stone. So those are the things that we are going to do. I'm going to ask Alexandra to go over a couple of logistics before we get started in earnest. Alexandra.
Thank you, Bruce. Yeah, so to keep things running smoothly, everyone is muted and cameras are off for the duration of this session. You will see two options at the bottom of your screen, chat and Q&A. Feel free to use the chat to say hello or share comments throughout the session. If you have questions, we strongly encourage you to type them into the Q&A box. This is a fantastic opportunity to get answers live from our two amazing experts. Whether you're looking for clarification, practical advice, or insights specific to your situation, don't be shy, ask away. We now are offering live closed captioning that can be translated into the language of your choice in real time. We're going to put the instructions in the chat. So this is a fantastic feature that we are offering tonight. We also have a giveaway. One lucky participant will receive $100 Amazon gift card plus a money management bundle, which includes Bruce's book, Moolah La Guide to Rocking Your RRSP, and some Credit Canada's book. The giveaway draw will happen after the webinar closes, and we will contact the winner tomorrow. This session is being recorded, and the replay will be available on our website shortly, so you can rewatch it or share it with someone who might find it helpful. Finally, when the webinar ends, a short survey will pop up. Your feedback really helps us improve future sessions. And with that, let's get started. Back to you, Bruce.
Thank you very much, Alexandra. And the thing on the giveaway, you got to stay to the end. This is how I'm a parent. I know that motivation, if it's not more screen time or chocolate, people need a little bit of a motivation. So that is the giveaway. And Alexandra referenced my book. This is the second book that I wrote, Moolah La, the Moolah La Guide, Rockin' Your RRSP. Do I look younger there? I mean, I was younger, but I don't know if I look any younger. So I love talking about retirement savings. I've written a bunch of books. I am the money columnist for CBC Radio. If you've been around like watching business news for a while, I spent a long time at BNN Bloomberg. And these days, I have my dream job, which is as the CEO of Credit Canada. So we are the oldest nonprofit credit counseling agency in the country. And really, our mission is to help people get out of debt so that they can get back into life. And we do this in all sorts of different ways. We've got amazing credit counselors and amazing education folks like Alexander. We've got a lot of stuff going on. It really is the greatest gig there is. I want to welcome our guest today, Sandi Martin. So Sandi is a certified financial planner. She is also an advice-only planner. So that is a really important distinction. There's a lot of financial planners out there who work within a commission-based structure or a fee-based structure. Sandi works in an advice-only structure, which means that you pay like you would an accountant to file your taxes. It's the simplest thing. Sandi and I have worked together on a number of projects. I have enormous respect for Sandi and enormous affinity for Sandi because she is such a delight. So Sandi, thank you for joining us.
Oh, thanks for letting me be here. These kinds of conversations where people start to get like, oh, I get it now. Those are my favorite. So I'm so glad to be here.
They're kind of the best. And for folks like us, I mentioned this briefly before we got started, but RRSP season is kind of like RRSP season to me is kind of like Christmas to Santa. It's kind of like a big deal. It is an opportunity to talk about something I love and something that we have a great time on. Here's how we're going to orchestrate our time together. We're going to go over the 5 W's. So what that means is we're going to talk about the who, what, when, where, why, and how of retirement savings. So you're going to kind of see that structure as we go. Some questions we'll work in as we go, and I may go to Alexandra and see if there are questions that she's captured from the chat. But we're also going to have a dedicated opportunity to go through your questions towards the end of our time together. So just sit back, grab a pen, grab a piece of paper, and we're going to leap in. Sandi, I want to talk about the why. For most Canadians, truly most Canadians, they are making really tough choices about spending today versus saving for this future self at some point, for some people, a couple of decades away, for others, like 5 years away. How would you summarize the why on why retirement savings are so critical for us to talk about and for people to focus on?
I mean, it genuinely is about future you. You nailed it. So it's taking care of the person you're going to be while, even though you might be constrained, while you can do it. Because if you can't work anymore or you stopped working, there's not a lot of chance to save for yourself anymore. So really, it's just about making sure that you've got a roof over your head, food to eat, and beyond that, it can be bigger, but it's taking care of future you.
Yeah, because there will be a time when you stop drawing a paycheck. And maybe that's, for some people, that's 55. They're lucky enough to have a defined benefit plan. For some people, it's significantly later. Both my parents retired well into their 70s by choice. They loved what they did, so they kept doing it. But they had that choice to continue to work, and a lot of people don't have that choice because of health issues or, their employer doesn't want or isn't willing to have an employee who's in their 70s work there. I don't know. So it's a really clear why. The what is also a critical part of this conversation because we talk about retirement savings. That was how we got you here. We're like, let's talk about retirement savings. But really, in order to have some income after you stop drawing a paycheck, savings is just one of a couple of potential income streams. So really, we're talking about life post-work, and retirement savings is a part of that. But Sandi, it's not the only part. So you can have those savings come to be cash in your bank account for groceries, but there's a couple of other sources of income that we should talk about. Go through those.
Yeah. So, well, the first one is sort of the minimum income promise that the government has made. So there's the guaranteed income supplement, there's old age security, there are monies that are paid out to people based on how long they lived in Canada and how much other income that they have. So there's a sort of minimum threshold from the government. There's also sort of a group defined benefit pension plan from the government called Canada Pension Plan that everybody participates in. If they're making employment income, you're putting money into it, and at some point you get your money back out of it. And then we also have, a lot of people own homes, not as many as want to at this point in time, right? But there's also this thing where, this is one of the biggest assets that you might own, and you can't eat it piece by piece. You can't sell a piece of drywall to pay for groceries. So is there something that we could do with this giant asset that turns into income for some people in retirement?
It's a really home. It's something I'm sure you hear. I hear, well, it's so great. My house has risen in value for those of you who are homeowners, and that's my retirement savings. There's a pitfall to that, though, Sandy, because people still need a place to live. In order to get access to that equity, you got to unleash it either by selling it or doing a reverse mortgage or something like that.
Yeah, and getting something else too, which we know right now. I mean, there's precious little to go around, right? And renting can be tenuous. So I rarely suggest that people depend on being able to turn their house into something that they can spend by either downsizing or sell it completely and renting.
Yeah.
So it is sort of one of the last options that we have.
And there are some listeners here joining us for this webinar who have a pension of some sort.
Oh, yeah.
Those of you who have a defined benefit pension are probably quietly like taking notes going, don't hate me, everybody, but I was an educator for 30 years or whatever, and you deserve every single penny. If you have a defined pension or defined benefit pension, you deserve it. It's just so rare these days. Other people may have a defined contribution pension, which works a little bit differently. So there are all these sorts of things that would be in the what. Sandy, I want to go next to the where, because I promised off the top, like I made a big promise. We're going to clarify the two main containers that people talk about. The first is the RRSP. What is the purpose, the fundamental purpose of the RRSP and the basic mechanics, like not the complicated version, but the basic mechanics of that container, the RRSP.
Sure. So you put money into the RRSP, and any money that you put in is money that you're not taxed on now. It's not taxed when it's invested, even if it's in a savings account and it's earning interest, or it's in mutual funds and it's earning more than interest, hopefully. You're not paying the government any tax on the income that those investments create. And then when you take the money back out, and with an RRSP, you have to by the time you're 72, actually. When you take the money out, that's when the government taxes you. But the idea is that you'll be earning less money when you take the money out than when you put it back in. So it's transferring tax dollars to future you, and future you has less tax dollars to pay.
Yeah. And there's certain, restrictions around that. The container only has a certain amount of space in it. You can't contribute an unlimited amount of money. But it's a huge deal to be able to defer those tax dollars into the future for the reasons that you said. So that is the vehicle that the government designed for retirement savings. Like that is its purpose. That is the big idea. The second type of container that some people use for retirement savings is called the tax-free savings account. So same question there, Sandy. What are the basics people should know about that?
Well, sure. Think of it as the kind of the opposite of the RRSP. So you're putting money in, you've been taxed on it already. You don't get to deduct anything from your income in the year that you make a contribution to your tax-free savings account. It also has limits for how much you can't put unlimited money into it. The investment income is, you're not taxed on it as that money grows in the account. Unlike the RSP, you actually never have to take money out, but when you do take money out, it's not taxed at all ever. And then if you take it out, you get to put it back in again the next year if you want to. So that room is never lost. It's just moved into the following year.
People sometimes have like this affinity for the TFSA because they think they don't pay tax on it. And the thing I always remind them about is you just already paid the tax. It's not like you didn't pay the tax on that. If you earn the income from your job, you paid tax on it at that point, and then it grows tax-free once it's in the TFSA. With an RRSP, you didn't pay tax on it from your job because it's been hidden away. It's been sequestered from your financial life until you withdraw it. So there's a lot of misconceptions. I don't know, Sandy, how you are, but for simplicity, because I get this question all the time, which is better, and how I frame it, and then you tell me, whether or not you agree or disagree, is I say, start with the RRSP in terms of your thinking, like start there, and then there's a couple of really important exceptions that would say the TFSA is better. But rather than trying to weight them equally, I start with the RRSP and then go to the exceptions. would that get me a passing grade in the certified financial planner world, or are you gonna, it depends me?
Well, I mean, I'm always going to, it depends everything all the time. But generally speaking, if you have to make a quick decision, it doesn't hurt you to put money into your RRSP. So I say, sure, take an A plus friend.
And then the two things that people talk about in terms of when a TFSA makes a lot more sense is when your income is either lower, so the benefit of like that tax deferral isn't really such a big deal, and if your income's not going to decline. So say you're an educator and your pension's going to be kind of what you always earn, it doesn't really help in the same way as if you're a higher income and then you drop to a lower income. Are those the two that you would flag, or is there, can you provide a bit more context on those ideas?
Well, I would add one more thing to the
Yeah.
RRSP, like to tilt it in favor of the RRSP for
Yeah.
people who have lower incomes. So even though the primary benefit of an RRSP contribution is a tax deduction at the time, right? And then you're transferring that taxable income into the future, you might still get a benefit that's not really a tax benefit when you contribute to an RRSP because it also decreases the income that's used to calculate how much you get in, for example, the Canada Child Benefit or Trillium benefits if you're in Ontario or whatever other income tested benefits there are. So it might not make tax sense for an RSP contribution to be made if you have relatively low income. And I'm thinking, like, if you have income above $90,000, we're not talking about this. This isn't that part isn't for you. But if you have income less than $90,000, it might make sense from a total like money from the government perspective to be making an RSP contribution.
Yeah. The other reason why we use the word container so intentionally is a lot of people get caught up in like investing in an RRSP or like, I've contributed to my RRSP. And the container notion is really important because when you have a container, it's empty until you put certain things into it. So, what would be some examples of the things that you could put into these types of containers, the RSP and the TFSA?
For sure. So you can put into your RSP or TFSA container, you can put just plain old cash. It's not doing anything, it's just cash. You can put in cash, but a savings account, or you can put in GICs, which is like a savings account, but with like a specific time period attached to it before you can take the money out. Or you can put mutual funds or stocks or bonds or exchange traded funds, like anything that you can invest in, just generally speaking, there are some exceptions, you can put inside an RRSP or a TFSA bucket.
Yeah, it's great. And we're not going to talk tonight about the ingredients themselves. We're talking about the container, but not the ingredients themselves. I think the one note that I would make as you think about what goes in that container is to think about diversification. So you don't want to buy, I don't know, only the shares of your employer and have that be your whole retirement savings. No. And you want to have some awareness of the fees that you're paying because some of those ingredients can have higher fees and some can have lower fees, and that can really, really affect things over time. It's great. So we've done a couple of the W's. The next one I want to go to is the when. And Sandi, I'm sure you get this. People sometimes arrive in conversations with you, I bet, certainly with me, is to say, it's too late. Like I'm retiring in 5 years, or I should have started when I was 17 when I had my first summer job. Well, you didn't, and here we are. What would you say to reassure those who didn't start when they were a pimply teenager that actually the best time to start, if you didn't start at 17, is probably today? It's today or tomorrow.
I mean, honestly, you said it already. It is, I mean, the past is the past. We're here right now. Doing nothing it means that 5 years from now, you're going to have the same conversation again. Like, oh, I should have started 5 years ago. So here we are. Whatever the changes that we can make now in the moment that's possible is going to be better for you 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, than just saying I can't do it because it's too late is going to do.
The how is tremendously difficult. It really is tremendously difficult. I don't mean so much the opening of the containers, because you can open up those containers at a credit union, at a bank, at a what they call a robo-advisor, like something like Wealthsimple. There's lots of different places you can open up those containers. Finding the money can be exceedingly difficult. Sandy, when you think about things that you have noticed work with your clients over your career, what are some things that you find work in helping people? Like, I almost think of it like shoehorning their budgets, and like wedging in savings so that there's at least something to get that ball rolling. What works?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the first thing, and again, I just want to stress that maybe this won't work for every single person, but the thing I found most useful and actually works best for me is even if it's the smallest amount possible, it's still making it automatic. So I don't even see it hit the bank account. I don't include it in when I'm calculating how much I can spend on, you know, not making dinner tonight or something. If it's already gone and it's already gone to savings, um, it ends up adjusting. You just adjust around it. Again, that might not be true for everyone. We really might be working with sort of a zero sum. In a case like that, every once in a while, there's like a windfall, even if it's small. Well, so for example, like the increase to the GST credit that's going to be called something else soon. That wasn't part of your income, last year or last month. Could we take some of that and just immediately automatically put it into savings? Or things like subscriptions, like the things that we forgot to cancel because we were on a 30-day trial. And I say we because I've absolutely done that last week.
Yeah, you really mean you. You mean you. Are you kidding? I totally do that. Totally. Yeah.
So it is possible to find just by looking through bank statements or mostly credit card statements these days, right? Because those kinds of things often happen on credit cards. And if we can find $10 because we don't actually need that streaming service anymore because we have those two other ones, that's $10 that can, I mean, genuinely, it feels so small right now, I know, but it can make a huge difference only a few years from now.
Yeah.
And not only a difference just in math, but a difference in like, oh, I saved something. I have some money in a savings account that it's available for me in the future. So those are the three things. I mean, I'm sure there's lots more, but
Yeah.
those are ones that I found particularly effective.
I think the timing of that pre-authorized contribution makes it a real difference. So I have historically just connected it to payday. So if I get paid on the 14th, then, or whatever it is, the second Tuesday, then I set it up with my bank to take that money out as soon as my paycheck hits. Some employers too will withdraw that RRSP contribution at source and send it to the bank themselves. Like the employer will do that. And there may be a matching program. So the numbers would disappoint you all of our listeners to see. There are many employers who offer a company match, and there are many employees who don't take advantage of that company match. Two things happen. One is they literally can't afford it, like they can't afford the rent if they take that company match. Way more often, though, is they think they can't afford it, or they just don't get around to signing the form. So if you're you have an inkling that maybe your company has some sort of a match somewhere, call HR or go see someone tomorrow to find out what that is. Because some companies, let's say it's 5%, you withdraw 5% of your paycheck, and the company may match that 5% or 2% or whatever it is. The other one that I wanted to flag, Sandy, is tax refund. So once you start contributing to your RSP, you're deferring tax, you're going to increase your tax refund. And when you file and say you get that, refund, it pops into your bank account, I would recommend immediately that goes into your RRSP, unless there's other, pressing priorities, and we're going to get to debt in a second. That can be a really big difference. You might get a refund of $1,000. And if you put that into your RRSP immediately, not only does it start to compound, but it then takes your income down even further, and you're going to defer some more tax. So that one, I'm sure you've seen that one be effective. Sam.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay, I want to come to the debt versus savings question. And there's some real nuance here because there is low interest debt, like a mortgage, and there is high interest debt, like a credit card or, oh my gosh, a payday loan or something with a subprime lender, that's carrying 40%. Sandi, how do you help people think through? They've shoehorned, they have wedged, they have worked so hard to get $200 a month that could go to one thing or the other, or maybe a mix of both. How do you help them think through whether they should put that to debt or retirement savings?
There's a couple of different ways. Of course there are, right? But the first thing is it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Like you can do more than one thing if you really are feeling like, I don't know which one is the right one. So the right one, most of the time, is something we can calculate with math, right? Like if you're paying 21.99% on a credit card, you will not, if somebody promises you 21.99% on your investments, please don't invest with them. So that's not a real number that you
It
get in
sounds too good to
return.
be true.
It is.
Yes.
So you won't find an equivalent rate of return on an investment. It makes sense mathematically to pay down your credit card. But if you have a $43,000 credit card and you feel like you're going to wait before that's paid down before you start saving, there's also that feeling of I'm not making any progress. I'm waiting until I can make progress. You're not going to hurt yourself by taking some amount of what you would pay against your debt. You should still be paying it off. And if it's 43,000, maybe it is time to speak with, somebody on Bruce's team. But you can take some of that and start building towards the day when you are debt free and you're not starting from zero in savings. It's a tremendous morale boost just to see that money grow even a little bit. And the last thing is, it is important how you set yourself up to succeed is really important. So it speaks to habits, right? So if you start putting money away, again, it's a little bit of that let's pay both mentality, but setting up this small, it's $10, it's whatever amount it is that's going towards your saving and it's happening automatically and you've allowed your budget to sort of adjust around it and you're finding out that you're okay. That's a tremendously important piece of anti-willpower because we know that willpower isn't the thing that really gets us out of situations like this. Setting up that habit and making it automatic is actually really important. So all of that to say, the math will say pay off your debt unless it's really, really low interest. And your own morale might say, let's do a little bit of both.
Yeah.
And both of those can be the right answer for somebody.
Yeah. One of the things we find really effective at Credit Canada is we work with lots of people on budgeting all the time. And so they get super ruthless about their budget. They have a very clear goal, like I'm gonna pay off the credit card debt, and they're gonna like slam it down, $500 a month or whatever it is. They then complete that goal, and there is a risk that they then have their lifestyle become a little bit like, oof, I don't have to pay that $500 a month anymore. Then I'm gonna take my foot off the accelerator. And what we really try and work with people to do is that $500 a month that you worked so hard to free up, you've now achieved the goal on debt elimination. Now I want you to put that $500 a month into savings. And for a lot of people, that's retirement savings. So it's really critical. Like when you've got that discipline, don't slide back into old habits, because there's a use for that rigor and that intention. I want to just come back to one other part of the why, and it connects to both the why and the when, in that I think it bears repeating the power of compound interest, right? This is something that, I think many people know about, but it's been one of my most practical insights really in my financial life, is to understand the magic of this equation. Sandi, can you take us through the essence of this equation and why it really is the eighth wonder of the world?
Oh gosh. So you earn interest on your interest. If you earn $1 of interest, after a year, we'll use real small numbers because man, I can't do math this late at night. But if you put $100 in and you earn 2%, you have $102 at the end of the year. The next year, you're not earning interest on $100. You're earning interest on $102. And it seems so small, especially when you begin. But the growth actually becomes, instead of it going like in a line, it goes in a hockey stick after a while. Your growth becomes exponential because not only earning income, investment income of some kind, then you're earning investment income on top of investment income. And when you sit down, even a very simple calculation of that, if you can do it in a spreadsheet, I'm sure there's some online tools that can really just demonstrate it quite quickly in a very short period of time. The work that your investments that are now earning investment income is doing sometimes can outstrip the amount of money that you are yourself putting in from your budget every month.
Right. Great. Okay, we're going to pop over and go to some of your questions that you put in the Q&A box. Please continue to do that. Add some more in there. I want to ask a question, Sandi, about spousal RRSPs. So the question specifically is there a need for spousal RRSPs since there's pension splitting? I don't want to get into too much specifics because there's so many different things. But if you could define what a spousal RRSP is, and then give some indication to give people an idea if that's something that they should research more at the end of this event, if it may be relevant to them.
Yeah. So a spousal RRSP is if, Bruce, if you and I were married.
That would be so much fun. Okay.
I know, we would have a good time.
If we were married, who is the cook in your current marriage?
Not me.
Like the one before, the one before you and I get married. So you are not the cook.
No.
Okay.
I'm the cleanup.
I'm the cook. We would
Excellent.
have to figure out who would manage the money. I would probably want you to manage the money.
Mm,
I do the
okay.
investing, maybe you do the financial planning, and I'll do the investing.
Sure. Excellent. I'll do the spreadsheets.
Perfect.
Done.
And I'll go on. Okay.
And you will earn more money because I just don't care as much. I'm just not as busy. You'll earn more money and you will use your RRSP contribution room to put money into my RRSP. You will deduct. I will have the account. When I take the money out of the account, as long as it's like 5 years later after you've put your last dollar in, then I'm taxed on the money that comes out. Okay? And why would that matter if we could split our pension income? Well, one, only some pension income can be split before age 65. Two, some people retire or need the money from their investments before age 65, and sometimes it has to come out of a RRSP. And why not give yourself a little bit more flexibility, even if you don't need to use it? Right. So people who should look into this are people who are coupled up, because our tax system really benefits couples and not really singles, and it's unfair, and I want to acknowledge that. Yeah. If you're coupled up and one of you has a big defined benefit pension plan or lots and lots of RRSP balance, lots of RRSP money, if one of you is going to have lots more taxable income than the other one in the future, and then it might be worth looking into this after today. More flexibility, that's all we want for people.
Yeah, it's great, it's great. A question here about maxing out RRSPs. So is it still beneficial to max out RRSPs when you're expecting a good defined benefit pension when you retire in 20 or 30 years? So the asker here is in a pretty great circumstance because they're one of the rare breed of Canadians who have a defined benefit pension. If you're in that circumstance, what broad guidance would you give for people on how much they should focus on their RRSP?
Sure. Probably you want to think about your TFSA first. Yeah. I suspect if you have a great defined benefit pension plan, you won't have loads of RRSP contribution room because you can't double up on that kind of stuff. So you probably will have only a little RRSP contribution room. I would say if it's a choice between, okay, I filled up my TFSA. Now, do I put any extra savings in my RRSP or into like non-registered, just plain old taxable investments? I might still put it into the RRSP because right now you might still need that tax deduction. And in the future, you can probably spread out your withdrawals over time. So it's not going to be like a big double up of pension income and RRSP income. A defined benefit pension plan is a monthly paycheck and it's fixed income. And so you don't know if you're going to need more than that on a month-to-month or year-to-year basis. So why not save some more for yourself?
The next question is about a particular product that some people have heard about. If they're watching cable television, they've seen the ads. It's called a reverse mortgage. And the question is, they'd like Sandy to hear your thoughts on accessing a reverse mortgage during retirement as a pension extension. And of course, the idea is a lot of seniors bought their house when it didn't cost $1 million. Maybe it cost $200,000 or whatever, depends on where you live, what your house would be worth today. And a reverse mortgage could be a way to unlock some of that equity. How would you articulate the pros and cons of that? Know that every single circumstance is different and every disclaimer I could possibly hand out there.
So I'll start with the pros, which we touched on earlier. You can't just sell a window and then, you still have your house and a place to live, but you've got some money out of it, right? So in order to access the value of this big asset that you own, you either have to sell it or you have to borrow against it. So that's a pro. It can be a pro. A con is you still need a place to live. At some point, if you have to sell your house and you have a reverse mortgage on it, you might not have any equity left that is not eaten up by the reverse mortgage. And I understand that there's a limit to how much, a reverse mortgage can use up of your equity. And there's all sorts of reasons why the commercials make it sound really great. But you might find yourself needing to move to a retirement home or something like that and not really get much out of your house or as much as you thought, because the final con is it costs a lot of money. It is very high interest relative to the things like if you're thinking just mortgage rates, add some extra interest rate points to that because it is very expensive. So it could be a last, like a final thing that you do with your house. Please don't make it be the first thing you do with your house at the beginning of retirement.
Question that gets asked all the time is, when should I start taking CPP? So you have a choice. You do not have to take it at the earliest available opportunity. What should inform someone's decision about when to take CPP?
Sure. If you do not have a pension or RRSPs, if you have very, very low income, think about taking Canada Pension Plan as early as you can. So age 60 is the earliest. And the reason you do that is because it decreases your taxable income and it increases the amount of those income tested benefits that the government pays out to guarantee this sort of minimum income. Everybody else, you should take your CPP as late as you can. Again, if you have a defined benefit pension plan, this answer is maybe not for you. You could probably just smooth everything out, take it at 65 when your bridge benefit ends or something like that. If you can wait until age 70 to take your Canada Pension Plan, you get more money from the plan over your lifetime.
A lot more money, right?
A lot more money. Like over your lifetime, it's a considerable amount of money. And if you're going to live past age 86, which if you've already lived to age 70, statistically, you're likely to live past age 86. You will get, significantly more money out of your pension. And it also gives you a little bit of time, if you can afford it, to take some more money out of your RRSPs before you have to and pay a little bit less tax. Again, considering your whole lifetime.
Yeah. A follow-on that is a question for single people. So it is, can we touch upon single people and how we can plan our retirement? So deduct from, do I withdraw this TFSA first? Do I take CPP early? Maybe just speak broadly to some of the challenges that single folks face in this regard, and there are many, and some of the solutions or opportunities that you'd recommend people consider.
Yeah. So single people don't get access to income splitting because there's nobody to split income with. There's just you. Single people don't have 50% of the cost of living as coupled up people, right? Your rent is the same for a 1-bedroom place as it is for two people sharing a bedroom or whatever it is. So we know, like, it is genuinely, you are paying more money for less tax benefit over your lifetime. There are precious few strategies that are tried and tested for single people. And I think it's because there hasn't been a lot of attention. It's kind of like women in the medical field. People don't really pay attention. They think they're just blind to it on purpose sometimes, I think. And so the things that you want to have as a single person, one, you need a little bit more liquidity. You need a little bit more cash on hand. It does mean that you're sacrificing some investment income, but as you go into retirement, I want you to have a little bit more of a buffer, a slush fund for things that come up that you're the person that you have to rely on. You probably do want to be thinking about if you are going to have a defined benefit pension plan, for example, you might actually want to forgo the RRSPs. Again, it depends, is my mantra for everything as a financial planner. But tax-free savings accounts are going to be your friend, especially if you have lots of time to save up and build up that balance. But ultimately, there's very recently there's a new book out, not by Bruce. It's one of the few personal finance, not by Bruce, but it is specifically about single people in retirement, and I would very much encourage you to seek it out and pull that one out. That's a very good strategy.
So there's a demographic of single folks, and there are millions of extraordinary single folks in this country. There is also differences in terms of the generational demographics. And I've seen some mixed data on how Gen Z or Gen Z is managing their money. Are they saving more? Are they saving less? Are they more sophisticated at investing? Are they less sophisticated? What are you noticing generationally? So we've got the Gen Z, we've got the millennials, we've got the Gen Xers, we've got the boomers. We've still got a few traditionalists sticking around. My dad's one of them. Happy 90th, Dad. What would you say for that generation that's like kind of in it right now? They may have their first job, they're trying to figure out a way to save.
Yeah. Oh, these are my children.
Yeah.
So, um, I'm sorry. That's what I'll say first, that, the things that the way that we have crafted the financial defaults is probably not going to serve you the way that it served, in particular, the boomers, but still my generation of Gen Xers too. You definitely want flexibility. Be looking for flexibility. Don't get tied into anything. So, for example, your life insurance, this is something totally different. I was just going to take us down a whole tangent about life insurance. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do it. I resisted the temptation. Um, you you have fewer opportunities to save because the cost of living for you is so much higher, and at the same time, you need to save more than anybody else. Like you need to be building up a rock solid mattress full of cash. You do need to invest actually some of it, but you do need liquidity, which gives you flexibility, which allows you to jump on the housing opportunity that you wouldn't be able to jump on if you didn't have first and last and. So concentrate on building up a good cash war chest, let's say, and then you can take on what's coming for you.
And the advantage for these younger generations is they have time. They have time on their side. So they may have a much more difficult time, depending on what they do and where they live, finding that $500 a month or whatever that amount is. But they have a couple of more decades than a Gen Xer in order to build out that nest egg.
Can I add one more thing?
Please,
This would be to the
please.
parents of Gen Z folks.
Yes.
If you can, this is not like bank of mom and dad stuff, but if you are sitting down and having your retirement plan done and somebody says, "Oh, you could spend X more dollars a year," think about how you could give with warm hands to the generations of kids who are facing just a slightly different economic world than maybe you faced when you were coming up, and how much more you would enjoy being able to see them thrive in tough conditions by using some of your excess to help them.
Yeah. Another question is, how much do I need? And I know this is literally how you spend your time every day, and their calculations can be very complicated. There's a gazillion variables. They factor in what you expect you're going to earn and spend, and what are you going to need for long-term care. Like there's all that. But what are a couple of rules of thumb that might give people some insight in that? And I use words of thumb with a big question marks, because there's a lot of controversy about rules of thumb and how they apply and don't apply and how they can empower people and disempower people. So I want to oversimplify it because I think it's helpful for people to have the essence of it. And I don't want to oversimplify it because it's so personal.
Yeah. Well, let's start with one very oversimplified thing. If you know how much money you spend, and I don't mean like on tax or on debt payments that are going to be gone by the time you retire, like just, roof over your head, food in your mouth, a minimum standard of comfort, like not with nothing. Take that and add up every single year that you're not going to be earning income. So if you spend $60,000 a year and you think you're going to have 30 years of retirement, it's 30 times 60,000. That's a number that is not going to be exact by any means, but it's a starting point.
Yeah.
Because what you need to be able to do then is, okay, at least I know that my investments or all of my sources of income need to keep up with inflation. That's it. They don't need to grow any further than that. That's going to be my baseline amount to have saved by the time I stop working. And again, it depends. There's so much to go into it, Bruce.
Yeah.
You're murdering me with this question. But also,
No.
that's the simple answer.
Listen, left to your own devices, you would probably, there are hundreds of people at this on this webinar right now, and you would probably be like, no, it's fine. I'll just book them in half-hour increments and talk to them at 2 a.m. because you want to be super helpful, which I love that about you, and it's practical. So we're trying to address that this in the broadest possible way.
Yeah.
Sandi, I want to include a question that really hits on what so many Canadians are dealing with. And I'm going to read it out and then maybe provide a bit of context. I'm 64, I've got no savings, and I've got some debt. Should I apply for the pension, I assume the CPP we're talking about, and continue working, or should I wait? Now, you're going to give a broad answer here. We know only that about this individual who's 64. We don't know anything else other than that. But I think it's a good jumping off point to say, here are some things that you would think about.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that the overall umbrella that I want to apply to this is don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. So if it would be perfect to wait till age 70 because I just said like, oh, and you can do all these things, you get so much more, but it would be good to start receiving your pension, your CPP already if you're 64, maybe your old age security at 65. If it would help you pay that debt off, if it would give you a bit of a breath, it would decrease some of your anxiety. That's good. So, we can reach for that financially optimal decision. But sometimes if there's the possibility of just having a slightly better life, do it.
Here's the other thing that I might add here. The question about should I continue working? If you can continue working, like there is a job for you and you can do that job and earn, that would be I would have a bias to doing that insofar as carrying debt into retirement. Retirement when you don't have a paycheck is just a tremendous burden. And to be able to have the variability on the income side, like the upside of having a job and working some shifts and doing whatever you can to really try and get rid of that debt, that will provide, I think, a breath for this individual and for any individual who's really trying to make it work. Does that make sense, Sandi?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. There is a certain amount of complexity for people who have had long periods of time working. They could have an RRSP from this organization. They could have like a little lira from, say, like a locked in something over there. Maybe they worked in another country. Or at what point does it make sense to consolidate those accounts? Maybe you had a bank, you had part of an RRSP at one bank, and then you just happened to switch to a credit union at some point, and you just got you're kind of like a squirrel. You got nuts stored all over the yard, and it's hard to keep track of all of them. How does one simplify that?
I mean, if you can, as soon as you have the bandwidth, at least shrink it down to okay, I have one RSP. I have one locked in retirement account. I have one tax-free savings account. Believe me when I say that I have worked with people to consolidate 18 different accounts because of that. I just didn't have time. They did the right thing at the time, and now they have a little bit of time to actually sort of tidy things up. The mental load of not having 3 different statements for one account type, it's tremendous. It's a tremendous thing to put some effort into now and reap some rewards later. So as soon as you possibly can is the shortest answer I can give.
This next question you and I are both going to have like a reaction to it. So I'm going to read it out. I'm probably going to watch my face as you react, as the way that I reacted when I saw it. Does putting up to 3% of your investments into crypto make sense when you retire in 2 years?
Oh,
You had a much more sanguine reaction than I did. Anytime I see the word crypto connected to retirement savings, I was like,
the full
so
body visceral response.
yes, that's what I had. Maybe
Yeah.
either you don't have that reaction or you're a calmer person than I. What's your take on that?
Well, so this maybe is semantics, but I do wonder what make sense means. And obviously we can't get any clarification from that.
Sure, sure.
But often when people talk about things that make sense, what they mean is, am I dumb for me? Like am I missing out?
Yeah.
Right? And I will say no. There's no way that you're missing out. Crypto is not, especially if, listen, if you want to play, if you are fully like, I just want to see what this is all about. It looks like fun. And 3% is something you could absolutely do without in your portfolio. Like if you lost that money tomorrow, it's gone. Fill your boots, friend. Just fill them. But make sense in terms of I'm 2 years away from wanting to stop earning income and I want to have the highest amount of security that I can continue to not earning income, to not earn income, sorry, and that I can kind of know that where my money is going to come from tomorrow. I'm going to tell you that crypto isn't going to fill that slot for you. Yeah, yeah.
This whole topic of retirement savings can be incredibly stressful for people. It can be really anxiety provoking for individuals, for couples in their relationships. It can be hard for people to talk to their financial advisors. And I hear that all the time. People are like, I don't want to seem stupid and I don't know the questions. And they're going to tell me I'm going to be selling pencils on the street and all that stuff. So I don't want to underplay or not give oxygen to the very real emotional dynamics. Like we can have all the conversation we want about the logistics and the threat and the maximums and the thresholds and all that stuff. But Sandi, could you talk a little bit about what you find works in helping people sort themselves out on something that can be a really, really stressful topic?
One, talk about it. Find somebody who is safe to talk to. It doesn't mean that it has to be like a prof. It doesn't have to be me. It doesn't have to be somebody like Bruce. It doesn't have to be a professional that you pay money to. But I think that this is almost universally true, that we really do believe that we are the only people who have like screwed up. We've made some real silly decisions with our money, and everybody else has their stuff together.
Yeah.
And that compounds, if we want to talk about the eighth wonder of the world, it compounds this feeling of anxiety and shame and aloneness. And when we have those feelings in us and we make financial decisions with them inside of us, we make bad financial decisions. So the best thing you can do is talk to your friend that you have coffee with once a month, or the people that you watch dumb movies with on Tuesdays, and you say like, hey, this is what I think about money. And then you find out that they don't have their stuff together either. And maybe they know something that you don't know, and maybe you know something that they don't know, and you can help each other get a little bit better. But the number one thing is not to be getting or giving advice to your friends. I mean, if you have it, great. It's to feel less alone and less ashamed and less anxious, because we're all in this together. Like soapbox. Woo.
Yeah. I love it. I love your soapbox. I love this expression as well, like your soapbox. The truth will set you free, but first it will, I'm paraphrasing, really annoy you. So I think one of the things that I would say on the emotional part of it is figuring out what's actually happening, as upsetting as it may be for you to see the truth, is really critical, because then you're dealing with what's actually happening versus your fear of what's actually happening. And what I have found over time, and Sandi, I don't know if you found this too, is quite often it's really not as bad as people think. Like they do the thing and they go, I literally was living in fear that I was going to be selling pencils in the street, and it's not going to be lush, not spending the winter in Palm Springs, but I'm going to be okay. Does that reflect conversations you've had over the years?
So much. Okay, so of course, there's a self-selection process, right? People that I talk to most of the time have a little bit of extra money and they've saved for retirement and they've hired me to talk to them. So take that with a grain of salt. But almost always people have said, like, when can I possibly stop working? Or, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be eating cat food is so frequently these are the things that I hear. And so frequently we can take a look at all the underlying assumptions and all the like we look at from a worst case scenario perspective. And genuinely, it's my favorite part of the job. It's like this happy surprise to be able to say, like, no, you're okay. It's all okay. Um, it's yeah, it's I love it.
We're all going to take a deep, deep breath. It's
Mhm.
going to be okay. I love that you love it. And Sandi, I love that you have joined us today. I've got a couple of logistics things. So to our attendees, don't leave. Don't leave yet.
But
Don't
I
leave.
will.
But I want to say, Sandi Martin, thank you so much for joining us, for your wisdom, your expertise, your warmth, and your compassion. You're really, I don't know if you're getting my condo in heaven, if you believe in that, but you're getting one, and it's going to have a great view, and you're going to live on this planet as long as you want to, and all the good karma, because you have been so gracious with us tonight.
Well, thank you. Thank you for letting me be here, everybody.
It's awesome. Okay, Sandi Martin, she is a certified financial planner, and she's awesome, and you can find her online. Here are a couple things that I want to tell you about. And Alexander's going to bring in a little slide here so that you've got the picture to match the words of what I am saying. As you know, Credit Canada is a nonprofit credit counseling agency. So we any excess of revenue over expenses, we invest in impact. So we do all sorts of things. But one of the main things we do is free confidential credit counseling. So we're going to put the number on the screen. You can Google us. You can go to creditcanada.com. If you have a question about your debt, call us. It is free. It is confidential. It is non-judgmental. I want our phones to be ringing off the hook tomorrow because you're like, I need some help. I want to talk to somebody. So that's number one. Number two, some of you are like, I don't know if I need one-on-one attention, but I'm not doing great on my budgeting. We have a resource for that. It is called Butterfly, and it is an app. You can use it on a computer. You can use it on your phone, step by step by step, and you can, take some action on your budget. Third thing is, some of you have heard so much about credit scores, and you know it's important to have a good credit score, but you feel like you don't really know all that you should know about how they work and what the math is behind them and how you can improve yours. We have a free e-learning course called Building Credit from the Ground Up, and it's available in 8 different languages. So if you've got someone in your life who speaks Arabic or speaks Spanish or whatever other language, then take a look at it in your language of choice. The next thing is something called Mariposa. So artificial intelligence is everywhere. Credit Canada has invested in the design of an AI-powered tool that is available for free 24/7. You go to our website, it'll feel like a simple chat bot, and you'll ask it some questions. But if you are interested, it will complete a full personalized debt assessment for you. It's totally confidential. And the technology is genius. I mean, you've used AI before, you know the essence of it, but here's the AI credit counselor, and it's the only one in the world that does this. We've got tons of resources at our website. We also have an incredible financial coaching program called Credit Canada Gold, which is available to people who apply. Every single one who is a person who's successful in registering gets a scholarship, so it doesn't cost you a penny. That's at creditcanada.com/gold. Alexandra wanted me to remind you that we are going to draw a winner from our attendees tonight for a $100 Amazon gift card and the Moolah La bundle, and we will email the winner tomorrow. It is 8 on the dot. Thank you so much for your time, for your attention, for your questions, and for your commitment to yourself to really figure out a better way forward for retirement savings. I wish you all the best for the rest of the winter and the best in your pursuits of getting a better handle on your money. Thank you for joining us, everyone. We really appreciate it.
Bye.